Good morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk.
Morning, P. How's your week?
Pretty good. Had a lot of work day, um, and just staying in some things. Still looking pretty heavy in oil, but quite a bit of fintech and software. Doing well for me. MDB. Um, some of them just keep running ZS. Things like that. So a lot of stuff loaded off levels that just managed to keep some.
Nice. Yeah, last week you had a comment, a lot of selling, and it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, what's he talking about? But that sure hit home this week. Just a lot of targets hit on things.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're predetermined first trade, so to speak, targets that you just have to take some profit to stick to the plan. And a lot of that this week. So kind of, I guess it caught up a little bit from last week, but just um, the every aspect kind of working currently
Yeah.
coming out of that consolidation and understanding the market and some of them taking profit, like not hanging out in any of the space plays that had a little rebound. Big one for me was RDW there. And if anything, if anywhere I want to kind of stick around or not lose position is, it was the restaurants last week.
Yeah.
A lot of decision making over there between Red Robin and Shake Shack and Kava on the ER and stuff like that. Just what to do. So even Wendy's there at the end, which has definitely been on the radar. Um, yeah, it's being positioned. The For me, what I've learned, what that's really helped is the chasing aspect of it, because you have things to do besides what do I buy. So this last week is a lot of that, just probably management um, of stuff that we were just being patient with.
Yeah, and yeah, Kava and Red Robin, those were definitely two for me. Um, have some wing too. I think secondaries posting about that one, but Kava, that was kind of a good example of there's definitely an option trade there, and I had a few, not as its own, but just to kind of try to protect a share position, but in the moment, the thing about options. Let me go to a smaller time frame here. But so we go back to the like this the earnings move and everything, and that little morning flush, if you can even call it that, where like your options open, and sometimes the when something moves that much, the market makers don't even have the books ready, so you just sit there and you can try to guess the price and get out, but you're just kind of stuck for a minute while while things open up and the options lose some value. The put hedge you got obviously is not going to help you, and it's all fried and everything. So it's a little more agonizing than just hey, I just have some fucking shares of this thing, and um, you know it popped off over 70, and but even if you just miss that morning drop, like you're still fine. I mean, you're still well up, and then you saw what it did. What it did after that, and just had that continuation, and that continuation after earnings is, I think, one of the main trades people should be looking for, whether it's to stay in or um, when something finally does well and kind of wakes up, or if something drops and it drops to a level and you get that kind of grind back up. I mean, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that happening, and it can get confusing to read. Except I will say that once again, I'll just return to this idea that the existing open interest on a lot of these setups is gonna tell you a lot. The restaurant thesis isn't a 1 week thing. We've been talking about this a long time, and a lot of them already had their initial move, and now it's just we see how they adjust for the follow through. So not the easiest to start fresh in, but definitely something where you can manage some positions.
Yeah, I mean it's price is I'm sure we'll get a little more deeper into it, but price is most important in a lot of these plays, and
Yeah.
especially with what the market currently is judging on. I don't want to go left there yet because we are going to get into that, but you got to. I haven't said it in a while, but when we were first kind of building our foundation, you have to always. I would pound the table on it, and probably some stuff I just need to get back to. But the market will always value something, and you got to figure out what the market really wants. And it's
Yeah.
not just the Mag 7 or whatever. Sometimes they want growth, sometimes they want to be defensive, sometimes they want to kind of put their neck out there in some innovative tech, and you just kind of figure out what the market wants, and it does rotate. It's never happy, because it's always looking for value. So if you can put yourself in the same mindset and just look for value, you're going to be better off. The
Yeah.
caveat with that is give yourself a little bit of fucking time, um, which is why the option world just, I mean, it doesn't appeal to me, and I don't understand why starting there or trying to master that first for most people, because you're like paying for your time. So
Yeah.
you have to buy your time. In shares, I don't have to buy my time. I might be spending my time as my money sits there, but I'm not paying a premium on the time I'm using. And time is your friend. And we've kind of seen that over and over again. First time in our relationship where I've really seen you pound the table on being patient and just kind of holding out and waiting for it, and watching that play out. It's been great. But back to that, I mean, you've never ever 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 seen me like kind of talk about ER plays unless they're like single one off, and you guys know I'm in them. That's why I'm talking about them.
Yeah.
We have a blocker, a Hims after hours. I'll say, yeah, let's watch this. But I mean, Kava, Groji, SCMI, 3 for 3, just dropped it
Yeah.
at the. But I mean, it's not. I'm not a genius. I've now got some fucking man behind the mirror. I just know what the market's looking for, and those are highly successful setups that had some range to go. And we've been watching the charts. SCMI we kind of been on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been in the level 2 for that. Just hoping my 32, don't search the group, 31, 32's thick, hoping that would flip to get that kind of pop and fade or that beach ball effect that you talk about. Grow G, 100% just you. You were like, it's not going anywhere. Can't kind of go out of business when the weed news hit. Still do the best. And then Cava, we're talking about right now, just a long-term restaurant theme. But knowing what the market's looking for in those reports, that's why I read reports. It's not so I know what's up with. I mean, when the banks hit, which again, something else I picked up from you. I kind of read those reports, and then you get the airlines that come in, and I read a couple of those, and you get to see what the market's reacting to, and you apply that to everything else. And
Yeah.
you get to week 4, week 5 of earnings season, it just becomes real easy for a guy like me to, look at a couple past reports, look at the expectations, and then make a pretty educated decision on what the market's going to see if they continue on their same path.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, SMCI is a good one where it's very news sensitive, usually involving some sort of criminal activity or something. But that people tend to they focus on that, and I get questions when it's in the 20s of like is this it? Is it ever coming back? And it's happened both times. It's dropped like that, and you just kind of look at the levels, and with this one I only have the one line here, but it was pretty clear that in the mid to upper 20s that okay, well, I guess this is it, and it was just buying the 20s, and that was all it was for me. And sometimes it was 29 and 27, 28, whatever. Didn't really care that much, but then at 32 peeled quite a bit off, and then you just wait. And we were either going to pop out of that, or, which is what the flow said, or we were going to just return down and go from there. But it's just we talk about news is king, and I agree with that. But you can't just trade old news like, oh, this is a fraud Ponzi company, whatever. The news happened, it dropped heavy, market digested it. They're still heavily involved with NVIDIA and everybody else, so it's going to respond to flow and levels. It's just going to set up and do it again. In real world terms, maybe that's frustrating for people that these scam companies can do this, but it's not what I'm here for. I mean, it's just I think that the way you go flow TA, you kind of mix those together with the kind of sector awareness, and then the the long term outlook of the company kind of is secondary when you're talking about trading something.
Yeah, one thing I love about our process, and I don't think most people would have made it this far without beating the shit out of each other at some point. But you have your distinct level and idea and thoughts, and I have mine, and we just merge them, and we don't like find a happy middle. We we just put them both out there and let you decide. And just the way
Yeah.
you over here talking about SCMI, and we both do believe about the news or the legal troubles being an issue over there, and how news moves the stocks. But you have a pretty definitive line, and I'll pull up the group real quick on my note. But man, you go back here 618, and it's just pretty simple: sub 30, sub 30, sub 30. It's just all sub 30, sub 30, sub
Yeah.
30. That's all you need. And trying to simplify that one for me made it real easy. But you have an even better location and a little more acute trade from that option side on an oversell point. And I just like that
Yep.
combination. Um, Usually we're on the other foot on that. So that's why it stood out to me. Usually I have the low line that you have to be quick on, and you have the I don't fucking care. I'm just going to buy this. I know it's going to work line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's why that stood out to me. But again, those like that's a use the work play. Like I don't want to trade SMCI. I would really rather trade Ambus or Amba or Rambus. If I'm going to trade some
Yeah.
shitty semiconductor, I'd trade Heminex too if it was cheap. Don't get me wrong
Right. Right.
there. But this is the TA that pans out. This is the flow that's supported. And this is the move that should happen. And even the 30, let's say you're late to 40 move, that's still 30% in my book. You lowball it down there by your line, you're 50, or excuse me, you're almost 100% here. So
Yeah.
that's the allure of the chart and the trade to me. But paper hands is always over here, Pete.
And for me, and numbers are different for everybody, but this isn't a $10,000 trade to me. I mean, it's like a $2,000 trade.
100 shares,
And-
P. 100 shares.
Yeah, right.
Well, and
Oh.
the good thing about that is you can do that a few times. I mean, you just look at the chart. You can anytime it's offered, you can step in there and probably feel pretty comfortable about it.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, the AVGO or Lily, I've had 10 grand in there. I mean, sometimes it grows to that, but I'm all right with that. I mean, even the bad news, is it gets absorbed or whatever. I mean, these you get kind of a sustained drop, but I mean, I remember this one on the way up when people were trying to short the thing, and we were before the split in the $600-700 area. I was getting into it with people on Twitter, and I'm sure some of those people will just be like, "Well, I was right. There's no way in hell they held through all that, to on the way down or whatever. But yeah, and so I think now we're in kind of no man's land as far as adding here.
Yeah, I'll fucking kick you out of our group if you add here.
Yeah, I mean it's
I'll punch you in the mouth and kick
could-
you going.
continue, but when you're talking, $10 up, $20 down, I mean you're at that point you don't need to be adding things. So it was fun, and then we move on.
Well, yeah, and it'll be offered again. I think that's the point that people miss out.
Yes.
So write down a fucking
yeah.
plan. Make sure like the weather, so to speak, hasn't changed on the stock, and attack when it comes back. It's
And
not
maybe it's
fucking hard.
32 this time. I mean, it might,
Could be.
you know what I mean? Like you
I'm
could
a-
make that.
I'll tell you right now. You want to know how to use our work, people? If it's 32, it's not coming from fucking me.
There you go. All right, it'll be some option-driven thing.
Yes.
But that's what happened in that consolidation back here in February.
Yeah.
It's just the thing was it broke down, and then they had to regroup. And well, I say they had to regroup. Those orders were already in. Once it had that big drop.
Yes.
And they held it down, to let their buddies on the train, and then it took back off, and same thing that just happened again. But
well,
yeah,
that move that you're pointing out on that chart, I think that's a good example of when I talk about they're not gonna fucking lose, so be patient. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a wild ride from there. You know, you drop down,
Right.
let's just call it 50, and you win up 100, and then you did it again. So
Yeah.
they're just not. That's them fucking making you lose money so they don't. Like that whole from here to here, call that manipulation, and just learn how to trade that.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay. You mentioned not having 10 grand in the trade. I just want to, I'm sharing the room today a little bit, but just
Yeah.
to point this out. I don't know how it was end of the month. Big picture swing list I posted here. You can assume I have full ports in these. Make sure they're names like this though, if you're gonna have big money in it, and
Yeah.
not necessarily an SMCI.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. You know, it's just one of those. SMCI has a lot of community members
Yes.
/ conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
You mentioned space, Rocket Lab and Space Mobile. They're all that too now. And I remember you were a little surprised that there's all these bag holders in those, but they're definitely out there. So yeah, you just you'll find yourself next to some of those people on the train, but you just don't stay for the whole ride with them. You know, just hop on and off, and you'll be all right.
Exactly. I want to just a quick note because it's not going to be much of a conversation, but I wanted to get it in the voice chat. But we were talking about this NVIDIA 50 SMA, and I was like pretty anal about these 50 SMA touches back at the beginning of the year, and we got it in February, and we kind of had a victory and pushed out of the market. Well, I didn't really mention it this time around, but you're getting that same consolidation, and then we got another little push here, kind of matching the high. The reason I'm bringing this up is it's such a good indicator on just what the market is doing and accurately showing it in a chart form. It just has a supported bottom on this moving average, which means the big money or the market makers, your fucking broker, um, they're going to keep this up. They don't want this market to fail. Our front lawn theory
Yeah.
is just what it is, and probably what it's going to be for the rest of the 20s. Do you have any thoughts, Go?
Oh yeah. Well, this I think back to the cigar bar conversation where guys like Palantir or Nvidia,
Yeah.
and that was like it's just his either or thing, and I was like, well, I like both. I wouldn't buy as much Palantir as Nvidia, and even though Palantir had this move, now when he asked me that, it was like 140, so it did dip down to the 120 or whatever. But I was just like, well, you want more Nvidia than Palantir, but I think they're both fine. I don't really like trade them actively right now, but it's not the worst idea. But anyway, so he bought both. He's done very well. But you can just see like percentage wise, you didn't need to own as much Palantir, and there was a lot more risk in that move. But Nvidia just has all of that scaffolding behind it, and all that TA that you talk about, and the moving averages, and it's protected, right? And so we are definitely in that moment in the market, and over years, it probably will grind up in 3, 4, 500. It'll probably split again, and it is one of those kind of long term holds, and you can see why in the dynamics you just pointed out.
The AI bubble for me, real quick on that, and I want to be early on this because it's a long term thing. But that bubble is only going to burst when the capex spending isn't taken as positive.
Yeah.
Because I mean, currently they're getting so much credit for just putting rims and the speakers in their car, if that makes sense. I mean, that's all they're really doing is putting money back into their company through the chips or whatever, and that's inflating their value. So as soon as that's looked at, I mean, that used to kind of be looked at a negative, until you could. I don't care what you spend money on. It's about making money, and that's just not the case currently in a lot of those the AI bubble names. Yeah, I mean, throw
So
space. You could throw space in there too, PP, or drones even, or whatever. You could throw all that in there too.
yeah, absolutely. I think for AI, the two sides of it to me are, and this relates, I think, to what you're saying, but figuring out the energy side of it, getting that built and cheaper, and you know, changing the data center narrative a bit. And there's still a huge trade there, and then just getting the the token cost down, right? Where it's running so much of your business on AI right now is in some cases as expensive as the people you were replacing, and that's not really sustainable for it to stay like that. Um, so yeah, getting cost down, improvements in technology, and figuring out the energy side of it, um, that's where the bubble gets some permanence. I mean, the Industrial Revolution was a bubble as well, and then there were big winners and losers along the way there, but long term, the people who figure it out, will stay around. And one good example like is software. Uh, AI was a big negative for a lot of software companies as they figured it out, and some big casualties there. I mean, Chegg is an example that never really quite figured it out. But something like Workday, that was a major pain from my line there. But it regrouped. We both started to like it. Had many chances at it. They kind of figure out their AI angle, and off we go. And now someone talks about acquiring them, and whatever. So uh, the bubble not going to burst for everybody. It's just a big opportunity to separate winners from losers. So that's a lot of what our work aims to do.
Yeah, I like the energy crossover because that's a part of it is spending money on that infrastructure that's yet to creating profit. It's just that switch of
Yeah.
the market perception back to like, all right, what have you done for me lately? Versus, oh, you're building a nice party. Because
Right.
that's currently where we are. Yeah,
Well,
if anybody, the real winners are the ones that pull off that execution and have a good party, so to speak.
so yeah, and I had and then I'm going to get to this kind of flow dynamic that I mentioned, but a real quick follow up on that. Like for Bitcoin miners specifically, and the ones that say, well, uh, we do, we're AI now, we're data center, whatever. Um, that Are there signs you look for the ones that are really doing that, or the ones that are just kind of full of shit and saying they're doing that? You know what I mean? Like if you're a Bitcoin miner, you're kind of fucked right now. So it makes sense to pivot.
Well,
But
the
how do you recognize when somebody's actually following through on that?
the good ones are gone. Like that's how that
Yeah,
worked
there
out.
you go.
Like
Yeah,
they're already gone.
I
Anyone else is
ran.
kind of late to the party. Riot. Um,
Mhm.
anyone else kind of late to the party if for me like how do you, it's I'm trying to think of a good example, but it's just this they're just late, and usually anyone that wanted to be have exposure to that probably got one of the first two names is doing well, and we'll leave it alone. Um, so I'm not looking for Bitcoin names to be like those
Yeah, yeah,
to become
yeah.
miners. I think the more, I mean, at this stage in the game, I think the buyout would be what you'd be looking for, or just a direct partnership with somebody that needs power capacity. Because we're farther down the line. You should have, that's where we should be in the story. So you need to catch up in the story for me to be putting any validity into that, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. Good answer.
Okay,
There's a
I want to make a point on the Bitcoin though, and the semis there real quick, Pete. Like we kind of seen it with the Bitcoin, and I mean, what you're exactly talking about. You got to find that lack of not utility, but use in the market, and that's what we're trying to find for these Bitcoin people. Like, it's not fucking making coins. It's not being your
yeah.
wallet or whatever the idea was back in the day. It's a completely different one, and that's the semis is, and we had a Bitcoin bubble, and the semis is the same thing. It's the same exact thing, except for there is a little more use or utility to the semis. But they can also sit in a box if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So
Yeah, and it became a national security priority too. And that's where it definitely.
semis,
I'm always
not
I
Bitcoin.
don't really short things, but like you don't short national security priorities. I mean, you had Trump telling you to buy Dell and Intel, and and he was so much more direct. But I think that would have happened anyway. I think we were kind of headed that direction where um, the government's going to take an active role in some of these companies
Mhm.
as suppliers and to ward off China and be the global leader in some of these things. And I see Dell is one where I see it now. I don't know what to do with Dell up here. It's like I was very active reading this for a long time, the 120s and like the 160s and a little bit of 200, but like now it's like congratulations, you have what you have. I don't really know what to say. It would have to split and like set back up for me. I don't know how you look at something like Dell though.
I mean, I have a little bit left and kind of good on
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's how that works. You can line these two conversations up, though. We asked all those same questions with Bitcoin. National security, I mean, that was a thing, right? At one
Oh
point in
sure. Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
you can line them up and just kind of check the boxes on which one actually has some follow through and which one doesn't. And I mean, the semis definitely has a lot of rubber to it,
Yeah. Well,
in
I
my
think
opinion.
the AI, or what people call use that term for, is more kind of just dispersed in everyday life. Crypto was always kind of a niche thing for weirdos, and I just the the AI just in everyday life for people, and then the robotics angle, physical AI, which I think's kind of the next thing. And we've touched on it with drones, and but it's gonna impact people's everyday lives in ways they're not quite thinking about yet. But that that's gonna stay around. So even if the quote the bubble bursts, um, what comes out of that will be some really active sectors that you'll see take off and regroup again.
I agree. We got two topics left on my list. I'll let you
Yeah.
pick which one you want to go with first. But the first one was the comment in the room about
Yeah, yeah.
repeats, and the second one was the basket. So whichever way you want to go.
Okay, so the repeat thing. If you look through collabs, one thing you'll see is that you're seeing a lot of names from me that you never seen before, or it's been a very long time. I even like I'll look them up myself. It's like, have I ever even mentioned this stock before? And a lot of them, are new, and it's not like these have had options forever, but they don't show up in my filters. So what's going on? Um, I remember this before, and a lot of stocks we trade regularly now at one moment were they all showed up at the first time at some point, but they follow this pattern where it's like, okay, this is kind of new to flow and everything. And the last time it happened, we went on a pretty significant, um, you know, sustained bullish movement in the market in all these sectors. So the way I see it is that whales just kind of won it all, and they're just they're kind of they're casting a pretty wide net and just trying to capture a move. And not every single one of these is going to pan out, but I think it's just their frame of mind um, right now, and it's maybe counterintuitive to see the market at a point where, okay, we're going to make a pretty sustained move up, but it's just what it's just what I see, and I think it's just something to be aware of. And then on your end, the same names popping up um, over and over again. That to me, there's just and then the flow ends up being good, but it's a lot more. It's subtle share control kind of flow, as opposed to the firecrackers um, in the more established setups.
Yeah, I think a big part of why I don't get as many on my end, why I don't get as many of those like new name, 300% runners is because I don't really fish in my filters as much for that anymore.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the 10 out of the 10 names on the street, which does kind of um, lead to that, you know, throwing the jab at them over and over again. But the main thing that which we'll get into is the basket is like the gateway to addition to my watch list. Like you got to come in as a
Yeah.
group. There's got to be a reason. I stay on that group, maybe kick a couple out in the long term, and then just really stay on the ones that have tradable range. And for me, I mean, number one, if you guys don't fucking know, I mean, I post fucking Fred Meyer receipts with 23 to 50% coupon wins on them, right? Like, it's about price. If you haven't figured that out yet, my main concern is price. If there's a second leg to my structure, it's just stability in the chart. I want to see some stability. That frying pan bottom is probably the most basic concept, or just a channel consolidation over time is the most basic thing I try to apply to a chart. I mean, if you can get those on a little shorter time frame, even better. Um, but that's what I look for, is that stability, and then a reason. I mean, that's our sector. A lot of what I get from you is just finding a reason why we should trade that. Um, that always seems very important to have, and then the fundamentals of it. You know, is this thing overvalued or undervalued? And then through that structure of the fundamentals in the share composition, does it have range? Some stocks aren't moving more than $2 fucking. They're just not.
Yeah.
Because of the way they're structurally built. And some stocks, if they get 50% over their 30-day volume, they're moving $6. So I just try to stay on those kind of stocks. So when you do get that boner candle, it makes it real easy for you. And then staying on those, what you know. I mean, for me, in any stock, I don't care which one it is, it's learning how it moves, learning how it reacts to news. Um, not really for the trade I'm currently in, but for the future trade that I'm in, or the next time I can see it. That I just, it makes it easy knowing the stock. So
Yeah.
you get a lot of those. I mean, a ton of those that aren't necessarily ones that are going to go into a long-term count, or if they do go into the long-term count, it's a very small position. You know, $600-700. That's probably profit off a $3,000 trade. Um, and building that way. And for me, it's just a defensive way to play, and it all goes back to being cheap as fuck. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I like the yin and the yang of it, because for me, your side kind of, turn the glass, or turn the mirror around. Your side for me just kind of predicts when that price is going to move, or if there is any defense to the level that I am playing off of. And those two things are kind of what I take from our process from what you do, is more of the timing and the defensive aspect of the whatever stock we're on.
Yeah, absolutely. And the the timing side, it's kind of that recognition too, that kick the can concept, which I'm really glad kind of stumbled upon through real estate. But you do see it, and it's like, okay, when are they in trouble on this? And then that you can kind of anticipate when they're gonna roll at a loss or hedge, or whatever. But when you're in those kind of setups, when you have shares, it's not, you don't really have to sweat that. The clock isn't ticking on you like it is for them, which is why I hate it when people ask me about BBAI options. I just, what are you doing? But anyway, yeah, the to the basket concept, what makes a good basket, and it kind of sort of depends. But there's often it's kind of a central concept to it. The Becky basket is a good example of this. What is the Becky basket? Well, it's discretionary spending, in particular by women, and there's just I'm not trying to be like sexist, but there's just so many practical examples of this. I've teaching in my college for 15 years. They give me this little pin or whatever, and a certificate, and then they give me this like gift thing to shop on this like online marketplace for crap, for like $500 worth of stuff. So I look in there, I get like a grill or espresso machine. I have a grill. I have an espresso machine. I don't want a tablet, whatever. Well, my wife looks in there and she's like, "Oh, look, handbags." She has a handbag. She has plenty of them. But it's like, "Oh, look, I can get this. I can get this handbag." And it's like, just another one. And it's just a different kind of mindset with it, and it's just spending this kind of, it can be a priority, makeup and shoes and whatever, and then finding the ones that are going to respond the best to levels. And so you take something specific like makeup. Okay, where are we at with Estee Lauder? Where are we at with Elf? And then so we have the idea, and then we apply our work to what we see within that space, and then some extra ones kind of come in or whatever. But it's just it's a way to work from the macro down that is kind of specialized, and I think it's one of the best things that we do right now. And HR was another one. HR, the deal there is that companies farmed all their HR out to all these software platforms, and they're stuck with them. And so they're gonna have to you have to kind of work through it. And the overall, uh, I guess market share or whatever is a lot of those grows incrementally. Um, but the stock price doesn't reflect the reality of people having to use this stuff. So you just waited for them to pull back, and then you get there. Gig economy is kind of an offshoot of that, manpower and ones like that. But yeah. Anyway, I think there's some convenience to thinking of things as um, a basket, but there is just a real strong application. It fits so well with what we do, and I don't force the issue, but I am kind of always on the lookout for kind of what's the next thing, and how do we want to handle it. And then last point on that is it just it works differently depending on what the basket is and how it works. But it's such a good application of our work that I think it's worth a reminder.
I don't know which exact sector it started in, but it was definitely some of the boring stuff where it was
Yeah.
just good charts and get a piece of everything, because trying to pick the right one of the five or six was hard. Then space came along, then um, the quantum computing stuff came along, and they all just fit that kind of make sure you have them all, you'll win overall. But they were still kind of like not news trades, but just like idea trades that, and you look back at the chart and you didn't get a quarter of the move, but it was a really good trade at the time. Um, as we went along, though, applying that to shit that was real, I think the first one for me was airlines, where I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Let's buy them all. And then casinos and hotels a little bit after that, where it's just like, okay, like we can apply this to the adult trading or the big boy long term trading as well. And then yeah, the Becky basket came in as kind of one of the first ones where I really like researched the section or the sector, both in my wife's closet and just in the real world what I see. And that's where the Victoria's Secret thing came in, and that turned out to be one of the biggest winners of that sector for me. So that's really what I like about the basket idea in general, because if you have a thesis, so to speak, on anything, even something as simple as like there's a war and it's oil out there. I mean, it can be that
Yeah.
simple. You can get some pretty good coverage, and usually the world will catch up to your idea, or the market will, um, the market will just show what you see in real life. And like you're saying, your wife can find anything. The makeup stores, they're everywhere, and there's people coming in and out of them. Um, and same with Victoria's
How about
Secret. You're
how
not
about
not buying underwear.
how about dollar stores and discount stores?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, so even if if the economy's stressed, they get a pretty big boost. And I mean, you've been in Ross and all them. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there's name brand shit in there. I mean, it's
Yeah, but the simplest thesis is like, they're still going to spend a little money.
yeah,
Who's going to be doing that? What aren't they giving up? Like, stop
right.
buying, stop buying a Becky basket when you see a girl out there with no makeup on their face. That's when I would stop buying the Becky basket. Like, if there's
Right,
women
right.
walking down the street with no makeup on, I sell your shit. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but the point of that is just the ideas and the theses, and then getting a little bit of coverage. And for me, I've grown a lot because I had none of that. And you've been pretty sector driven since we started, even in your research process, whether you're buying them that way or not. It's always been, you know, some title that's that what you would search, like oil infrastructure or
Oh,
something like
right, right, yeah.
that, and then a list of 10 of them, and there's a reason behind it. So, um, yeah, it's one of the
Well,
best things
even
that
within, everyone talks semis, but we broke it down to the machinery and
foundries,
wafers and
foundries.
foundry, yeah, all that stuff. So that has been really valuable for us too. And then the big one in tech, I mean, is just is this hardware, is this software, and then you kind of go from there. There's moments for hardware, huge one with memory and all that, but software too. It's just different. It's the way you don't stay in as long. They go off the levels. Snow is an example. All of
Yeah.
that. So cybersecurity, um, over and over. So I'm always looking for the next big thing. But again, it's you don't force it. You just sort of read the landscape, and then it is a good application of our work.
Snow's a good example. Got the chart up, but this one you could have missed twice and still did okay. And that's
Yeah.
yeah. Let's put it all together. We want to get to the boring stuff.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Run over here.
All right. So first up, copper. Fairly quiet week. Still just kind of looking at $7. So it's just what's going to happen at 7. Is because that was the thesis, and then we just kind of see. But still a lot to like in steel.
Yeah. The steel part is what I'm waiting for to make your notes. Some things
Yeah.
I like to come from your side as opposed to my side, and but those charts are kind of in my watch list, my secondary watch list every week. So when you say go, I already know what's going on there.
Yeah, and it's just they're just ones that you can load a lot over a long time, and you get something between between 12 and 14, or 14 and $16, and it's got flow to 22, and you'll do fine. So the stuff there. Silver is so had that pop, a little consolidation. I'm still looking big picture on some flow on some gold and silver, so I'm kind of diving back into those. I do think that the rare earth stuff is a little further along in their flow setups. So um, I I'm not gonna say it. I almost revealed
Go
one there.
ahead, it's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
These
But
fuckers,
yeah, I mean,
they don't know how to trade without us, anyways. You need the rest of our notes, so go ahead.
yeah. No, but yeah, like USAR, and just critical minerals and all those. But yeah, they're on a you think from 3 to 9 months, I guess I can kind of see what's happening there. So um those look pretty good. Gold is had kind of a bigger pop than silver. Could certainly grind back up. There's a lot geopolitically happening there, but still, I don't know. It's fine. There's better stuff out there though.
Yeah, I'd say that 21 trade, that backside trade on them silver charts, totally there. But I'm why there's so much upside still out there with trends that way. I prefer to trade it, but a good sector. Some of those, I mean, pull up the weekly on some of those charts, and they're 20-30% offered still. So, and now you have a higher low to go off of. So if you like them and it works for you, um, tradable range. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so next up, oil. I still think you really want some oil. I mean, I don't. I'm not calling on this to go to 120 or anything, but um, for whatever kinds of manipulation they have planned, or whatever, there's just a lot that's already happened that's going to work its way through the price action on some oil stocks, and there's a lot of pipeline equipment, offshore, whatever. It's a tankers. It's a good moment to get very. We talked about the basket just now. It's a good moment to get very specific in what you're looking at with oil, and I would just say under basket construction, half of it should be the big dogs. I think and Top and Chevron and Exxon and Oxy and all them, and then you kind of pick and choose. There's your Devons, your Dinos, and then you get into the more specific stuff. You get your SOC Lotto, whatever. But I think it should be a pretty active part of your trading right now. Not the easiest thing to trade for most people, but I think you have a pretty good handbook in our room if you're interested in oil stocks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to tell y'all. He's been saying this for 3.5 months, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
And natural gas, it's still beautiful to me. I don't know. I mean, I think anything under 3 is going to give you some opportunity. And with the oil gas combos, this isn't really dragging you down with it being here. So just another one where the price and the reality are not aligned currently. And that war nobody talks about anymore has got to work itself out, and a lot will open back up there.
yeah, I ain't fucking leaving. I said that a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Longer thesis. It's no. I mean, for me, it's almost impossible. There's gonna have to be some new tech for you not to win on a lot of what we follow in there.
Yeah. And then real quick on uranium, lithium. Uranium kind of grinding up a bit. We we talked last time about. I mean, if you want to see the story with some of those, I talked about Bitcoin miners and faking it with the data center thing. There's some nuclear stuff that's kind of faking it too. I mean, when you look at their actual numbers, they're not doing shit yet. It's just kind of an idea. So you be careful about that. But I do like the ones you pull it out of the ground. You know the names, and I think there's some pretty good opportunities there. There's still a pretty big story in Europe and Asia on nuclear. I think you'll even see it in the Indian subcontinent. We'll get into it eventually, but yeah. So it's an important global commodity, and it's unique in many ways. But I think we have a good roadmap for that too.
Yeah, it's one of those sectors currently that they're just so far away from where we first started trading them. It's a little harder to get into, but those charts are in good shape.
Yeah.
If you don't care much about price as me, they're definitely tradable.
Yeah, I think I remember our very first uranium conversation. It was a long time ago because I remember being on my patio at my old house. But yeah, it's been a good one for a long time. It's funny, the one that you liked the most way back then sort of stayed the favorite amongst the room. So
happens, Pete.
Yep.
Still 3x, 3x from the bottom of my line.
Yep.
That's the problem with those ones, though.
Yeah. And then lithium hit a little bit of a consolidation spot. When this is under 20, I look at that, and batteries, chargers. I mean, we want to talk about another basket. We're definitely getting some clarity in those, and kind of know how to handle them. A lot of them are through earnings. That's good too. So look for some boxing gloves and some lithium stuff. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I got one in there this week. I almost sent them all, to be honest. It's close there for me on my side.
The one you posted is one of the easier trades we're gonna see. So just give yourself time.
Of the 3 that I have that I like, that's why it was just the best of the 3. But again, I think they're all gonna come around. Hey, that's in my secondary notes at 26. Where are we at? 27.19 auto RTO.
Yeah, I like Yeah, I like what I'm seeing for some of the Chinese stocks. Some of the retail ones kind of took a dip. Some of the software did well. SE's not Chinese, but whatever, Singapore. It's an ADR, same difference. But there's a lot to like in there, and so we're getting pretty close on China. We have our own style for trading Chinese stocks. Go small and say thank you is basic. Too long didn't read on that, but yeah, I kind of like where we're at here. So this flow on this one in particular gets you like 32, 36 into next year. So you think about what that means for some of the names and plan accordingly.
Yeah, run that down real quick again. I just said in the last kind of what I look for. Price looks great. Stability, charts are pretty stable. A reason, I couldn't tell you. Fundamentally, so you need those last two to change for me. And I've always said, my flat brained on college assessment was just give me a handshake somewhere and we'll be good. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. Those two just
Yeah.
have a good meeting or a good something, and those stocks will recover wonderfully. 20% is nothing on most of them. So thanks.
All right, and then good old Bitcoin. A pretty quiet week. There's still stuff I like. Coin under 150, and then I mean the sector focus. Not even going to give a preview on it, but there are some oversold style crypto type asset things that I think have a shot. Someone's buying it. Someone's trying to do something. So, yeah, we're gonna break out of this. I just don't know. I don't know where, but I do know where the spots I want to buy some things, I guess. But there's some pretty big ad zones too, so I that's kind of my caveat. I say coin under 150. My zone goes down to like I think it's 132, so I would be fine. But it's not really one built for weekly options at the moment.
Yeah, this shit's fucking dying. It's gonna continue to die. But there's some stuff that can grow out of shit, and I think it's funny that we both kind of came on that the same week.
Yeah.
Chart good enough to go in my notes, but again, reason, fundamentally, all that good stuff, it just didn't check out for me. But major, so that's going to be an interesting conversation on how to just handle that in general. As far as this chart goes, though, P, I'm still, it's going to fucking zero. I mean, that's just where my head's at. Short term, still at 55. So when it gets to 55, we'll talk about that then.
I can buy a lot of Bitcoins if it's at zero. That's
Yeah, you
that's
totally
one way to
can.
look at it.
You totally can buy a lot of that shit. I'm sure people will want to sell it to you too.
Yeah.
But 55 is kind of the not the oversold spot, but the stress spot I really want to see tested from in this current trend.
Yeah, that's a good word. I did well on a little MSTR rebound, but I want it to get stressed again, and then kind of see. You can see it's been kind of dead of late, but that dip under 90 did fine. It hit 100 a few times, but it's also not really looking for 10% in MSTR. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
Like I'm, Sherwin-Williams or something. Yeah, 10% is what I'm after. Fastenal. But no, I mean MSTR. That's because the downside you just kind of would be 50%. So the 10% up isn't really enough to hang around. But you can just pop in and out if you feel like it.
I don't know why it correlates, but just for our room people, they'll get the connection. But Unc never really liked MSTR, and Unc loved MDB. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, for one thing, dilution is the strategy for MSTR, and MDB doesn't ever need to do that.
Yeah, no,
I think that float for MDB might have been the same this whole time we've been trading. I don't recall them doing an offering or anything.
Love to see it.
Yeah. All right, so SPY. Yeah, I got nothing. There's nothing in the sense of what I look. There's no combination of puts right now that means anything. So get open interest all the way top 20, so it's we'll wait and see what they want to do. They're not they haven't bothered to reposition any of that just yet.
It's literally been a year. Let's just stay there. I mean, at this point, if you're not in our room and you watch this video, this is all you need. When this changes, that's when you can buy some puts or fucking post bearish. I mean, we're not doing anything but what we've done until this shit changes, and that's just where my head's at.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get in my own way here. Why would I? I'd have wasted 12 months.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could go in and I can call up some things and really try to dissect and dive into every one of these charts or whatever. But no, I don't know. It's just rungs on the ladder, and there's a lot of rungs, so they're not really letting it. They're not letting it breathe to the downside.
I was 660 here last year, and everyone was talking about that. No way, we can't get that high. And even the talking heads on the TV, which stay on my house all day long, so I kind of get their sentiment too. They weren't even touching that shit last year. They're talking 800 right now, though. I'll tell you that. They are talking 800. It's their number. 810 is kind of what they say where we're going. So extremely bullish short term. It's just how I kind of see it.
Yeah, and it matches what I said with casting a wide net, or
they want it all.
Yeah, they want it all. So they're just crappier the better, oversold stuff 50% down. It has all the bullshit buzzwords for software, and they're probably not going to get that 50% back. They're not really trying to, though. They're going to get 20 to 30, and no one's going to really know why, but it's because they, because they control it. They just, they're driving the car. So don't fight it.
Perfect.
All right. That's
anything else? Are we ready to get to work?
No, we can get to work.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.